$2.7 trillion.
Wait. Well,
That is the exact mathematical baseline we are starting with today. $2.7 trillion erased from American 401k plans between 2021 and 2024. The cumulative inflation figure sits at 21.4%. The M2 money supply
has surged past $22.4 trillion.
as of 2025, this is not a market fluctuation. It is a mathematical certainty. The energy for future price explosions is already locked into the system, and it cannot be undone.
Okay, stop right there. Let me translate this for the listener really quick, because we are diving into the 21 Guardians framework today, and I am looking at the clock. We have exactly 10 minutes to pull this entire deep dive together. You are talking about stealth inflation.
I am talking about raw, unmitigated purchasing power destruction.
Right, which means people are logging into their retirement accounts. They see the numbers staying flat or maybe, going up a tiny bit, and they think they are safe. But the actual value...
The actual value is completely gone.
Exactly. The stuff they can actually buy at the grocery store is evaporating. And that is why 92% of retirees are reporting extreme anxiety right now. It is psychological terror because the safe path, saving in fiat currency, is mathematically a guaranteed loss.
The math does not care about their anxiety. The numbers dictate that holding fiat is an engineered evaporation of wealth.
Listen, we get the logic. Now, give me the most lethal data point on the 401k evaporation and move to the next phase. We have to explain why the visible economy is a total lie.
The most lethal data point is rooted in Henry Hazlitt's broken window fallacy from 1946. We have the data on the visible stimulus checks. People received direct deposits. They perceived an immediate increase in their personal wealth. But the unseen loss is the systemic destruction of their future purchasing power.
Break that down for us. Why is a stimulus check actually a net loss for the American household? I mean, people love getting a check.
Look at Hazlitt's original parable. A hoodlum throws a brick through a baker's window. The town gathers and decides this is actually good for the economy because the baker must pay a glazier $50 to fix the glass.
So economic activity happens.
Yeah.
GDP goes up. Everyone claps because
visible activity happens. The glazier takes the $50, buys a pair of shoes. The shoemaker buys lunch. The money circulates.
Right. That is what Hazlitt calls the seen. But what about the unseen?
The unseen is the tailored suit the baker was planning to buy with that $50. The window is fixed, but
the baker has no suit.
Exactly. The tailor has lost a sale. The community is not richer. It is poorer by exactly the value of one unmade suit. Destruction does not create wealth. It merely diverts energy from creating new value to repairing broken assets.
So apply that to today. The visible part is that direct deposit hitting your checking account, right?
Correct. The unseen part is the hidden tax of inflation. When the government prints currency to fund that check, it benefits the state and the banking sector first. This is defined structurally as the Cantillon effect.
Right, because the people closest to the money printer get to spend it at yesterday's prices.
Precisely. They purchase hard assets, real estate, and equities. By the time that newly printed currency trickles down to the poor and the middle class,
the prices of basic goods have already adjusted upwards.
Yes. They adjust to reflect the diluted money supply. The poor suffer less.
Yes, and they suffer the hardest.
Mathematical inevitability.
And John Maynard Keynes basically justified this entire system by saying
that in the long run, we're all dead. It is a mathematical justification for short-term consumption and immediate political appeasement.
But Hazlitt completely rejected that framework.
Hazlitt's rebuttal was exact. He stated that today is already the tomorrow which the bad economists yesterday urged us to ignore. Public works and stimulus checks are never free. They are deferred taxes that actively drain the purchasing power of the working class.
And that leads directly to economic demoralization. Thrift becomes foolish. If you know your savings are going to lose 20% of their value in 3 years, you stop saving. You start gambling on speculation just to survive. But wait, here's the bridge point. While the masses are trapped in money illusion, the rich are boarding the digital ark. Get us to 1944.
July 1944. Bretton Woods, New Hampshire.
Set the scene for us.
43 allied governments met in a hotel to decide the fate of the global financial system. The objective was to permanently sever the global currency anchor from gold and empower the newly formed International Monetary Fund to infinitely expand paper currency.
And Henry Hazlitt was sitting right there in the middle of it.
He was there representing the New York Times as their lead editorial writer. He recognized immediately that granting a centralized body the power to arbitrarily expand the money supply
would inevitably lead to permanent global inflation.
Precisely. But Arthur Sulzberger, the publisher of the Times, confronted Hazlitt. He demanded that Hazlitt endorse the Bretton Woods Agreement. Sulzberger argued it was necessary to promote world peace and to protect the international prestige of the newspaper.
He basically told Hazlitt to just play along with the charade, to sign off on injecting the drug of inflation to cure a recession.
Hazlitt's response was absolute. He told Sulzberger, compromise does not exist in the realm of truth.
Wow. He didn't blink.
He refused to lend his pen to a mathematical lie. He resigned immediately, walking away from a highly prestigious 12-year career because he refused to endorse the systemic corruption of the currency.
He was the trumpeter piercing the darkness. He sacrificed his career because he knew that corrupting the money leads directly to the collapse of civilization. He saw the inflation of our current decade 80 years before it happened.
His logic was flawless, but he lacked the technological mechanism to enforce it. The government had a printing press, he only had a typewriter.
Exactly. Which brings us to the mathematical fortress. Because decades later, an anonymous coder named Satoshi Nakamoto took Hazlitt's philosophy and actually built the mechanism.
Satoshi Nakamoto encoded Hazlitt's strict requirements for sound money into an immutable software protocol. It removed the human element entirely.
Okay, I want the sound money spec table right now. Rapid fire. We need to compare Hazlitt's exact requirements to the Bitcoin code. Start with the definition of inflation.
Hazlitt defined inflation strictly as an artificial increase in the money supply.
And the code's fix.
A hard cap, 21 million coins, no political pressure,
No sovereign decree.
and no central bank committee can alter that integer.
Contrast that with the $22.4 trillion M2 explosion we just talked about at the top of the deep dive. The code simply removes the politician. Next on the spec table, the difficulty adjustment. Give me the cold facts on this.
It is the pinnacle of objective money. Every 2016 blocks, which averages out to exactly 2 weeks.
The network automatically recalibrates the cryptographic math problem.
Correct. It adjusts the difficulty required to mine a new block.
So if a massive corporation plugs in 100,000 new mining machines, they do not just extract more Bitcoin and flood the market.
Absolutely not. The algorithm simply makes the problem harder. It ensures that one block is found exactly every 10 minutes, regardless of how much computational energy is deployed globally.
Which is completely different from physical commodities.
With gold, a higher price incentivizes better mining technology, which increases the physical supply and eventually crashes the price. With Bitcoin, the difficulty adjustment removes arbitrary judgment from issuance. It is governed strictly by math.
And this forces a massive psychological shift in time preference. We are moving from high time preference, which is that Keynesian instant gratification of spending your melting fiat currency, to low time preference.
The structural mechanism for that shift is the halving.
Break down the halving.
Every 4 years, the issuance of newly mined supply is programmatically cut in half. By systematically reducing the new supply, the network enforces the economic virtue of capital accumulation.
It retrains the brain. It is a mathematical incentive to save rather than consume because you know the asset is getting scarcer.
It effectively restores the builder mindset that inflation destroys.
And it does all of this with total transparency. Verify, don't trust. You don't have to rely on a central bank's redacted audit. You just look at the public ledger. The hidden plunder of the working class is technologically impossible on a blockchain. Okay, listen, we're hitting the 9-minute mark. We need to land this deep dive right now.
The raw historical data points to an inescapable conclusion for the individual investor.
Bring it back to the listener's immediate reality. We are talking about the 8,000 days. The MIT Age Lab estimates that the average retirement lasts 8,000 days. That is a massive expanse of time where you are not generating new active income.
If you attempt to cross that temporal desert holding assets denominated in fiat currency, the math is actively working against you. The US dollar has suffered a 97% devaluation since the Federal Reserve was created in 1913. By the time a worker hits age 70, the capital they save today will mathematically fail to cover basic food and energy costs.
It is a melting ice cube.
The debt trap is a sovereign mathematical certainty. The system must print an ever-expanding volume of currency simply to service the interest on its past debt. This leads precisely to the bitter dissolution that Henry Hazlitt predicted.
So there are only two paths forward for the listener. Path A, you remain a fiat slave. You sit in the visible economy, constantly waiting for the Federal Reserve to announce the next rate cut, just hoping for a soft landing while your 401k stagnates in real purchasing power.
Or Path B,
You board the digital ark, You acknowledge the broken window fallacy, you stop cheering for the glazier, and you move a portion of your wealth into a mathematical fortress that cannot be diluted by a committee.
There is no middle ground when a currency undergoes systemic devaluation. You either trust the arbitrary dictates of a printing press, or you trust the immutable laws of mathematics. Institutions rot. Governments compromise. Math does not.
That is the ultimate takeaway. You have to protect your own labor.
In the long run, your fiat dies. Only the code survives.
I will leave you with this final thought to mull over. If Henry Hazlitt foresaw the global inflation of the 21st century all the way back in 1944, what else is encoded in this digital arc that we haven't even discovered yet? Are there protections against artificial intelligence controlling global commerce, or entirely new sovereign financial systems being built under our noses that we are still ignoring? The clock is ticking on your wealth.
Deep dive concluded.